All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to another expert session number 108. Wow. Uh, just a moment, because I have my clue here, so I have to first off do the first speak about our sponsors. So first and foremost, Vitex, the commerce infrastructure, Meet, platform enabling our global sessions. Acclaim, applied AI and intelligence partner supporting Evolve. So what is Evolve? Evolve brings together board level leaders, senior advisors, founders, and investors across commerce. We run structured conversations across markets, and this session is one expression of that system. Today, we are joined by Angela Stati. Angela, please correct me. I probably made a mistake here with your last name. She built her career inside financial institutions, including Moody's, BNP Paribas, and Schroders, working across capital risk and strategy. And she later moved into venture advisory and institutional ecosystems, working with the Consumer Panel, Office for Investment, FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, European Innovation Council, UNDP, and NATO DIANA. Today, she operates across boards and advisory roles at the intersection of capital, governance, emerging technology, and institutional decision making. Her perspective is shaped by seeing how decisions are formed inside institutions across boards and through capital. I'm your host, Carlos Monteiro, founder of Evolve. So, Angela, welcome to this session. Thanks very much for making time and for this opportunity. Every time we host a session, we start with a controversial opening question. So the question for you is, once a company scales, who's really making the decisions? The founders, the board, or the capital behind it?
It's a very good question. And I would say the capital behind it, because in most cases, you are so much diluted once you've sold your soul to the venture capital that unfortunately you end up being managed by the venture capital firms or the investors that you have onboarded. Certainly, you need to have a very strong board to support the executive team and also ensure that the board has the right people, because these individuals will be the ones supporting you in investment decisions going forward. And also anything that has to do with capital raising, they are the face together with the CFO and the CEO. But it is true that in most cases, you sell your soul and your investments are in the hands, and your whole company tends to become in the hands of your venture capital firms. So very difficult, but it is the way to go.
Follow-up question then, that was not in our script, but what do you think then of raising capital versus being bootstrapped?
I'm always in favor for bootstrapping and actually becoming revenue generating before even thinking of any capital raising. And I see not many companies go that way. They like to get the grants, they like to get to the investor community, but bootstrapping actually showcase to investors, it actually proves to yourself that there is a need for your product. You will be able to succeed no matter what. And the best thing is that you make money without having these investors at the early stage, because you don't want to be asking for money without having the money produced. Nobody will be convinced to lend you the money without a bank or that being in an equity format. So I always advise the companies that I supported, try to be as bootstrap as possible. And then there are certain stages where you cannot cope anymore. You need capital to scale. So that's when I only think it is the risable way to go and get venture capital firm. And equity might not be the cheapest form of getting yourself in. I think getting a bank loan to start, getting certain debt, small debt will be a good avenue, and then eventually getting into an actual venture capital equity dilution.
Amazing. And you see, like, at least from what I read nowadays, the environment for raising capital it's not as easy or as free money as we would see a couple of years ago, right? So I think it has become harder. However, when we, at least when I see the whole, because LinkedIn is, we could argue it's also a bubble, and there are many bubbles out there. At least on the LinkedIn bubble, anybody claiming that they have AI and they don't necessarily have they don't necessarily have a proven technology. It seems that companies that are arguing and, you know, saying that they have some sort of AI technology behind them, they are probably raising money in that sense. But I would totally second what you're saying in terms of making money, you know, if you can, being bootstrapped, because also your value increases, and then you will have a say when you're going to negotiate with your potential investor,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And you get a much bargaining power when you come to this table of negotiation, because you already created some value and also some trust that you know how to lead this business, as opposed to waiting for being led by others or being given the money to manage your working capital. You don't want to have that. You want to prove yourself that you can do it. And then once you've done it, it's much easier for the community to support you.
Nice. When it comes to Alexis is joining us, she's very modest and humble, but she's very influential in Germany. You know, and she has a strong voice there, and I would love her to support me right now in the beginning of this conversation. She will have to jump. So Alexis, I have another question more like about boards and how we go about that, but maybe from what you've heard
Yeah.
so far, yeah, what are your questions?
Yes, I would love to jump in here. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis. I'm a retail reporter. I'm very delighted to co-host just for a couple of minutes to jump in here. Yeah, Carlos, expert session 108. That's crazy. And Angela, what you just mentioned already popped up a couple of, further questions in my head, because so I've been working for a couple of big companies, as well as working in a startup and now having my own company 100% bootstrapped. So there are so many perspectives and so many variables. What do you think when it comes to the question either bootstrapping or raising money? What other factors besides the money and the amount itself are important and are to consider from your perspective?
Yes, first of all, congratulations in setting up your business and venturing into becoming an entrepreneur. So well done for doing that. I would say that the considerations, and if I may clarify your question, you asked what else is in somebody's mind when it comes to ask for capital. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because people, like different people, bring different risks, but different value as well, right? So like if you get just money in, it's different than when you get a business angel or when you get a group of people in that are way senior, right?
Sometimes getting investors in, you strategically do it in order you get the connections and the opening of doors. So it makes sense for this perspective. But in other times, getting an investor in without the skills and expertise to support the growth of a business, it's highly not recommended. So you're right to say that getting an investor, you need to do your own due diligence, because they do their due diligence. And I know there is like, you need to kiss many frogs to get the right investor for your firm. But when you start approaching these investors, whoever is the company, you need to see if you have a good chemistry with them. Is that the right fit for you? Is that the right company, the right sector, the right region? Do they cover? Do they have the right connections before even reaching out to them? So doing this first due diligence, it is very important. And I would say even think about the portfolio companies that exist within the pipeline that they invested. I think this is a very important thing to think of. So once you go to investment, say, for example, say, do they invest in this type of sector? What type of firms have they invested within the sector? Is there a complementarity for me within their portfolio? I've worked with a private equity firm in the past for which I was invited to support them because they were looking to bring in another company to merge this entity with. So sometimes it's not the investment you get. Sometimes it is a potential connection, a potential collaboration that will make your company more valuable. So don't approach them just for the actual equity, but approach them saying, what are you there to bring to them? And what are you there to learn from them?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that totally resonates. I've seen companies being acquired where there was no good fit, where people were, or where the company was brought in to bring in the startup spirit. But this is not like if you have a little fish and a sharky swimming together, I know who the pacemaker is.
Yeah, culture
So
super important.
yeah, culture fit. But I don't know the agenda, so I don't want to jump here. Carlos.
The agenda, well, no worries. Angela, another question on what you're both talking. Yesterday I asked Gustavo, but he has to leave. I found a very interesting post on LinkedIn, which I believe very much. Uh, seems she's an investor. So I'm gonna read it now firsthand. And I was not expecting this. So that's a little bit how our sessions go about. I hope you don't get too mad at me, but I think it's more
It's
fluid,
okay
you
because you
know.
actually only just now gave me your potential question, so I have not
Yeah.
prepared for it. So it's everything. It's prompto.
Exactly, indeed. So she says her name is Hayley Bryant or Bryant. Every investor I know is asking founders about distribution advantage. But what does that actually mean? Three models I'm thinking about right now. Media first, so build the community and the content before you build the product. True audience attention is the scarcest resource in business. And if you earn it first, you can sell to it repeatedly. We'll see more founders spend years building real relationships with their thousand true fans before launching. The product becomes a natural extension of trust they already built. First point. AI first content. Most companies still haven't figured out how to drive inbound since Google search got disrupted. The ones who have are quietly winning. Webflow tracked it carefully. 8% of new signups now come from AI assistants, up from 2% just 8 months ago. ChatGPT traffic is increasing, blah blah blah. So she's talking about AI and being found on the LLMs or and stuff like that. And the preferred partner play. If your target market has a large membership association, becoming the preferred tool for that association is captive distribution. One partnership, thousands of warm intros to buyers who already trust the recommendation. Worth noting, associations are starting to build their own tools to capture that revenue themselves. But if you get there first, it's real. I resonate a lot, especially when it comes to the community aspect. So community first, and speaking with you here about Evolve, I think we had this first conversation of ours last year. We were at a very different place. Now it's clear what we're having. Now we're building courses on top of what our audience has asked. They have asked us, like, because we understood our audience, and it took us time to understand that we had senior members building portfolio careers, and then companies really interested in these members were accelerators for companies. What's your take on what I just read? Like creating your unfair advantage as a company.
I totally agree that obviously it depends in which sector this individual is in where she's trying to get the company to. But she has proposed three models, right? The first one, she said it was more using your audience as your marketing pool. Second was AI using as attraction. And the third one being a partner first, if I understood correctly. So creating exclusivity and stickiness. I think it depending on where you are within the ecosystem, what sector you are, doing a combination of all can be quite good because there is no like secret sauce as to the best result. And I think it's a trial and error, Carlos. I would say every single marketing, distribution, sales channel needs to experiment. And especially in early stage companies, experimentation of different channels and different approaches, it's highly important, because that will give you this competitive edge. Meaning competitive edge is you will know what works and what it doesn't. What you just mentioned, your platform has evolved over the years, and you have pivoted, you have refocused, you have made a decision as to where is the best place and focus I should make. Who should I attract in my platform? What type of caliber should I have? What type of activities should I offer? Services? All this comes with the experience and the pivoting and agile approach that every single startup owner should have. And I'm sure Alexander has done that as well with her business, going through navigating one area or the other, and then focusing in the key priorities, because what you don't want is to endlessly trying to do everything. And that is a big problem I see with a lot of startups. Yes, it's great to experiment, but at some point you need to decide what works and what it doesn't, and then prioritize and focus and really go for it.
Yeah, especially the last point is, yeah, totally resonates with me. I used to work for a scan and go startup, and we used to we were looking for a lot of features to actually make it more likely for the app to be opened in the store. So what do you need in the store? You need a shopping list, you need indoor navigation, you need in-app payment. But in the end, like the retailers and the people weren't ready for all the for the full feature set. What they needed was a very good scan and go application, a very clear how do I use that? Where do I start the journey? How do I end the journey? And then we kind of killed our whole roadmap, started back from the point is what besides, like what, let's make scan and go great. And then let's have a look at what's really needed, what's really demanded. And
And that's really
that
good.
was a game changer when it came to resources growing, yeah, and also increasing the amounts of pilots that I loaded in. So yeah,
And I quite like what you
takes
said
time.
there, because you actually use the consumers to create and co-create. And I think this is something that a lot of companies, startups try to bring products to the market without engaging with their users or consumers of their products, and they create something that will never going to be bought from them. So what you just did with your product and how the product is displayed and how the consumers interact, and then deciding and focusing on the resources, it is absolutely the right approach.
Thank you. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a road of learnings, and it always
Mhm.
will.
I think also on that note, and something that I've learned, Angela, running Evolve now, it's like there's how you as the founder perceive, you perceive what you do and how others perceive you. And so that thing is it's that understanding is so important when you're running a business, because you may think you're saying something, but people are perceiving your value proposition in a completely different manner. So just to be very specific about this, quick example. So we've done an event at True Global, and that for me that was the most interesting insight running Evolve. I could say it was a coincidence, but that happened in Brazil again. Like whenever we do an in-person event, small, curated kind of thing, in partnership with a solid institution, so True in that case in London. I mean, we closed deals and memberships, like because the perception. I didn't have to explain a lot, you know, didn't have to be like first. I think the whole point of being in person, people connect more, but I think the perception and how people they were curious. We opened really interesting conversations. So things that I wouldn't understand before or perceive as well as a founder. So for me, so your take on perception of on the sort of groups that you want to be associated with, because this is very important. And one thing is when you're a business and you want to be in certain groups because you're sort of guilty by association, let's put it this way. Yeah, I'd love to hear your take on
Oh no,
this.
you're absolutely right, Carlos, because I truly believe in networks, and I believe
Hmm.
networks are your currency. And if
Hmm.
you don't invest in these networks and associations with the right networks, you
Hmm.
basically undervaluing yourself. And that is
Hmm.
no matter if it is you are an individual looking for a next job opportunity or a next
Hmm.
advisory NED opportunity, or if it is that you are an actual business owner. So what you did here in the UK, coming here and meeting people in person and putting your voice out there and ensuring you associate yourself with the right partners and organizations, it's certainly of great value, because then in person people can associate themselves. This is something I would love to be part of, or I would like to be associated with, and how can I get, what's the next step? So creating this urge to be, or fear of not being part of a community, because this community will give me this added value that I don't have. And I think you've done a brilliant job in doing that through in-person activity and as well online through these sessions as the one of today.
Let's move on. Thank you. Let's move on to the next block, which is, you mentioned NEDs and being an advisor, and I think it's that being associated in the, let's say, the right circles. But so you built a really interesting career. And by the way, Angela, I think we spoke about this a few times. How many languages do you speak? Like, you speak Portuguese fluently, English brilliantly,
Yes,
and I think I saw you in some Greek conference. I don't remember,
yes,
but you speak Greek as well,
I also
right?
speak. So I'm Greek Brazilian, so that makes it my
Hmm.
native languages. Obviously, I studied French and English, so I now hopefully speak fluently that as well. Obviously, not
Hmm.
yet the accent, but close enough to be understood. And then the Spanish and Italian, as I imagine for you as well, Carlos, being a native Brazilian Portuguese speaker, you can very easily, knowing many
I get
languages,
by. I get
you
by, but
can get
not like
by
you.
speaking Italian and Spanish. I did a little bit of it, classes and communication, but certainly I get myself confused between the two languages. And sometimes I speak this Portuñol Spanish,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
somehow the people understand it. So, yeah, so fluently 4 languages, but in terms of communication, 6 languages, which I find it culturally an advantage for me, because when I am
Mhm.
engaging with individuals from different nations, I was earlier today speaking with an official member of government in Greece. I was speaking in Greek, whereas other
Mhm.
earlier before that meeting I had a French counterpart, and then British. So I
Mhm.
love within my day I can be traveling the world through either a video conference call or actually traveling in a physical capacity. So it's fascinating, and I think languages have definitely opened doors for me, and I highly value that.
That's so
And looking
funny.
at
This is really
go,
funny because
sorry.
I'm fully Greek. Carlos is
Yeah.
fully Brazilian, so we
Yes.
kind of got the
So
sandwich here without knowing that.
I saw your
Um,
surname and I thought you were.
yeah, kind of. Carlos, I have time for one last question, if
Yeah.
I'm allowed.
So please go ahead.
I would jump in here. Um, so Angela, the thing that always stuck with me when it came to either consulting someone or talking about the advisory board, when is someone ready or actually qualified to get paid or actually take someone else's time to be heard? What's your take on that?
To be heard. I love that. So you will never be ready until you're ready. So there we go. And I think you need to have courage to actually take this leap of faith, and only do it when you know that you can really not depend on the money, because that is, not all the advisory or all the NED roles that exist in the world are paid. Some of them are volunteering. So to start, I have done volunteering advisory work for schools. I don't have any more capacity, unfortunately, to support in a volunteering basis organizations. But I think this ability to have given my time not only helped me understand, actually give back in a social community basis, but also I learned how to be to be listened by others, to advise as opposed to be not an operator, and also to challenge the discussions. And over time, I managed to become a chair of actual committees, and then through this taking the leap of faith and going through the different networks, I entered different environments, which I got introduced to people that were looking for my expertise, and I ended up with roles that I thoroughly enjoy today.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
And on that, Angela, so let's go back a little bit, a few years back. So you were at a brilliant career, super international. The name of the institution, Schroder, Moody, super well-known institution. And how was that leap? So, okay, you were working in the financial institution, I believe, as a product innovation person,
Yes.
right? So tell us a bit about that leap of like being a top executive in the UK and going about becoming a board member or NED. And actually, what is the difference? Also, please explain, what is the
Yes.
difference?
Yeah. So many questions there, Carlos. So let's take
Sorry.
one by one. So let's take your first question. The first question is how you transitioned from an executive position and how have I done it? I think it also circumstances made it in such a way that it was around the time for which I moved from an executive role to try to actually pitch my idea for a business I was looking to create, and ended up becoming the CEO of this accelerator. So I became closer to technology and innovation firms. And then the ecosystem just opened up. Being with these innovators, you give the guidance and advice. That was my first steps into advisory work, you want to call it. Although I was leading an organization, but I could see the mentors we had in our platform, how they were advising the firms, how they were supporting them. And then after that, it became as I mentioned, I took a volunteering position in a school. I became a school governor, and that helped me understand how you run a committee, how you actually speak within a forum, challenge senior leaders. And from those networks, I decided to become a non-executive director and actually take that into remunerated. But the journey from unremunerated to remunerated, it's not an easy one. And it most likely you will not going to get your position from recruitment firms. Most likely it is through your network, it is through a company you supported, or it is in the instances of mine, I was in a UN forum, and I met somebody in a breakout room that told me for a chair position for which I currently hold. The other position was I was taking I got a scholarship in Cambridge, and I was in this 1 week course, and I met somebody there who told me about this opportunity at the regulator. I applied. Obviously, all this you have to apply. You need to go through the screening process. but I ended up getting the job. So all these positions, and even the one now at the Office for Investments, is I supported to bringing to companies in the UK, and I was very close to the individuals who do this job for the past few years. So, you know, I think if you give and help people, sometimes the universe helps you back. And sometimes it's not the same person you helped, but sometimes it can be somebody else, or this person you helped recommend you to somebody. So I'm not telling you to do free jobs forever, but by doing this little effort or support and advising people, you somehow have the opportunities. Now I haven't answered your question about what's the difference of advisor and non-executive director. So I'm going to tackle that one as well. So an advisor, you don't have any legal responsibilities. You're basically advising, you are in advisory capacity, you're paid for the actions of providing advice. When you become a non-executive director, you are legally bound to the obligations of the goods and bads of the business. So if the company collapses, you're basically responsible for that collapse. If the company succeeds, you're also responsible. So this legal liability that you have as a director, it is an important one that you need to be aware. And in some cases, when you get a public appointment, for example, the post office, the individuals that were on this board, they had the responsibility on a public board of what happens to the community, to the individuals that run these post offices. And if they don't have the knowledge and expertise, I would encourage people not to apply for roles that they don't fit, because the legal responsibility is massive and you don't want things to go wrong.
Perfect. Very, very interesting. It's because in Brazil, I think you can be fiduciário, fiduciary obligations.
Responsibility,
Yeah,
yes.
but I don't think we call non-exec. Maybe we do, and I'm just not aware of it. But very interesting. I think Hawan wants to join us, so I will invite him. Hawan, are you at the backstage? I can't see you, so let me see. And I'm alone here, Hawan. Gustavo had to leave, so just so remove us. He should be at the backstage. Just give me a sec. Yeah, he's here. Let me just see where Hawan. Got it. Okay, move to stage. Yeah, Hawan, you ask your question. Just give me one more second.
Yep.
So, Angela, regarding we are building a board, and you actually have been shortlisted there, and we'll speak about this opportunity later. But one interesting thing, and it's more like in this work of building boards, and it's something we discovered along the process of building Evolve, given the caliber of our community. We started building boards, so this is something we are offering as a service for companies, right? We have top talent, let's say like you, and companies pay for that. So we say, okay, there's an opportunity here. But it's interesting because we have to sort of educate also the founders to tell them, hey, do you know what a board is for? Because they're not salespeople. You know, they're not going to be like your SDRs. They may help you build relationships and accelerate things there for you, but that's not the intent or the purpose. And perhaps if you'd like to also comment on it, you know, because I think there's a misunderstanding out in the market that because you're going to have a board with people that have let's say a solid Rolodex, you know, founders are typically expecting that you're going to be introducing people all the time. And so how do you see that?
I think it is also in the nature of the person, but and typically speaking, a non-executive director, yes, it does introductions where physically possible, but the role it's very much a strategic one, and it is a role where you have the accountability of the finances and the strategy of the business, as opposed to an executive role of hunting for opportunities for the executives or opening doors necessarily. Certainly, if you happen to have the contact contacts, so why not sharing them? But I don't necessarily sit at this meeting. So I will make the introduction, the warm introduction, and then I will pass it on to the executive to continue and qualify if this is a good contact or not. And I do that because I enjoy connecting people together and making the opportunities be realized, as opposed to just talking about I should introduce you and then never do it. But again, it's all down to if I have the contact, I will make it. But certainly it's not a requirement that the board member, your board of director, makes these introductions. The requirement is to ensure that your company is at good standing. It will clear the financial year and also grow. So, and you have the culture and responsibilities for your employees and also for the running of the business. That's the responsibility of a non-executive director. I must say that there are a number of courses out there, and I have completed either small, short certifications or long certifications. So I qualified with the Financial Times non-executive director. So it's a postgraduate qualification. I think it's a certificate level equivalent to postgraduate. And I must say it was a 9 months long assessment, 3 hours exam. So it's not lightly taken. It's a lot of time invested, and they do it, I would say, on purpose, because if you are investing yourself to have these fiduciary responsibilities, you need to absolutely investing in learning what it actually means, and you need to have the time and capacity, because board papers are 200 to 300 pages when you are in a complex environment. So you need to have the capacity, ability to understand, to scrutinize and respond back when needed, and also challenge the individuals that are presenting. Have they thought? Have they really thought if something goes wrong, what will be their actions?
Mhm. Great, very interesting. Hawan, go ahead.
Angela, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great session. Kalimera, just
Kalimera. Kalispera.
thank you. That's the end of my Greek fluency. Um, well, I'd like to ask you two questions from the board member perspective. One is how should companies balance the rapid adoption of AI and still keep the need of a strong governance? And the second question is, what do you think are the biggest blind spots that the board level have it now regarding the also the AI?
AI cannot solve problems. You are the one solving the problems. So let's make it clear. You need to know what problem you want to solve to then deploy whatever technology you want to deploy. AI is one of them, and AI agents it's a part of it. So I would say boards face this difficult question. Should we be doing that? Everybody's doing it. Shouldn't we not have? It's like a fear of missing out. If I don't do it now, then I'm not going to be competitive enough. So only deploying technology, whatever this technology is, if you really need it, and in sections of the organization that you need it. Do not do it just for the sake of doing it. And make sure when you deploy it, you make a very good assessment of the opportunity, of the cost, what will happen if actually the technology is down. A lot of the times we create automations without having the kill switch. What happens if the agent ends up behaving completely not the way you want? What will be the trigger that will stop the agent operating? What happens if there is a cybersecurity attack? What would your technology people in the firm do? Can they handle manual process? That's the type of questions in a recent cybersecurity conference I've attended. A lot of the individuals didn't have the answer. And they are very critical questions. And I must say, a board should be questioning that. and should be asking these questions to the executives. Do you have a plan? Do you have an ethics guidelines? How do you actually collect the data? Are individuals aware of what you're collecting? Can you actually trace back to the data and provide the outcome of these results, how the decision got to be made? And this is particularly important when it comes to financial institution transactions. If a loan gets to be refused, you would imagine that a banking organization will be able to justify why this has happened. Well, consumers don't have the means and ability to trace this back, but I believe it's the duty of organizations to be able to supply to them should they ever be asked to provide it. Because if there is a big fraud case or there is a big instance, you should be able to go back to your data and question it. So just going back to your question, if you don't have the knowledge and expertise in AI, if you don't have members and individuals that can challenge these questions, and you don't need to be an ML expert or algorithmic expert, you need to have both of it. You need to have somebody who has really deep tech expertise, but also another one who has deployed AI from a business perspective. And together, these individuals are able to assist in decision making and challenging a board.
Is it right?
Παρακαλώ.
I really love your answer because I totally agree that the AI and well any technology is not an end in itself. It's always a way to achieve something. So totally agree that we can't rely only on AI and blind believe that AI will solve everything. We have to use it as a tool. So totally agree. Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you for participating in this exchange.
While you both were talking, I was doing some Google checks here, and I asked, that's the exact question I asked here. Board leaders, stories or news worth mentioning in my webinar now. And Google is, I forgot the company or the Gemini, right? Gemini said the following. Okay, just give me a second. All right, so immediate trends for 2026 boards, something called the confidence gap. Are you familiar with this, Angela? The confidence gap. Yes.
No.
A new research released this month by the Corporate Governance Institute shows a stark boardroom paradox. While 500 directors surveyed feel generally confident, most admit they are not fully prepared for the escalating cyber threats, AI adoption, and ESG scrutiny defining 2026. AI as an active board member. Boards are moving from passive oversight to active governance, risk, and compliance powered by AI. Leaders are now using AI agents to handle foundational data tasks so they can focus on strategy amidst resource constraints. And something from Fortune, boards are increasingly favoring experienced insiders for CEO roles to hit the ground running during current geopolitical and economic volatility. So perhaps, looking at everything that I just read, what do you think boards are underestimating on the note where I read, they're valuing experienced operators? Do you think, and I don't have an answer, I'm just thinking out loud now, like in order to be a good or a qualified board member, do you think you need to have been an operator previously? Like, for example, to be a good coach, I played tennis in the past, almost played tennis professionally. I don't necessarily think you needed to be top 1 or top 2, top 5, but you need to have some understanding of the game, like, because otherwise you're clueless, like you don't even know the rules of the game. Yeah, what's your take on experience having, operated uh, the machine in order to be a qualified board leader for oversight
Uh,
and things as such?
yes, it's a good question, and I will tell you, a lot of the times I wonder what experience means. Experience means age, or experience means I have done it and I've seen a lot of failures and I can do it again in a better way. Sometimes I face that, especially public boards, and I mean about public listed boards, they value the age as opposed to the experience. And sometimes age comes with experience, but not necessarily. Take technology. Not many individuals which have had long age experience have a lot of understanding of the new technologies of today. So how do you manage that? Appointing individuals just because they have been in another board of a public listed institution. Is that the right approach? I would say not. And I would say not because this just carries that their branding, the association of a brand of coming from another board, but it potentially is clueless of the new technologies of today. So when it comes to board selection, because chairing a board, you also select your board members. So you need to do an evaluation of what is the expertise I have today. What do I want to achieve going forward in the next 6, 12 to 3 years? Do I have the right people in my board and experiences? And I know you cannot predict the future, what new technologies you will have, but at least from what you know today, it is important that you hire the people, not just because of their age, because then you become age discrimination, but you actually hire them because you know they failed somewhere else, and you know they actually can speak and they are challenging you and they are there to support you to grow. They're not there to be doing yes, the other yes, go ahead, do it. You want somebody who will say, well, have you thought of this? Have you considered this? Have you connected with the right path? Have you done your risk analysis? What could happen if something goes wrong? So all these things do not need somebody to necessarily have the age experience, but somebody who knows how to ask the right questions, or have experienced failures, or has navigated successes through technologies if the technology is the subject. So I generalized it, but I think it's a topic, ageism, reverse ageism in boardrooms. It's something that I have experienced it myself, funnily enough. And I can say that if you are to talk to recruitment firms, most likely they value the age as opposed to the experience. So, and I'm completely the opposite, because if I were to share, I think the fact that I have the knowledge of technologies, and that my fellow board members in other boards that I currently sit don't have, well, that gives me my competitive advantage. And I learn from them too. We're always learning, but the element of experience does not come from age, but comes from actually doing something and advising companies in this space. It is the thing that not many boards are considering today.
No, I completely agree. And when it comes to technology, like if you put age as a topic, then you're just gonna have let's say a qualified dinosaur taking decisions that they have no clue. Like take AI, it's something so new. So you need Mariano, who's the founder of Vitex. He would have a super interesting argument about having what he would call the IT mirror. So let's say a CEO in a company should have a CEO peer who understands technology. So they would talk, and that thesis of his, he would talk, he would say, he would preach that maybe 6-7 years ago. And he believed that every leader should have like a technological peer to have qualified discussions. And he would argue that this would end up being cheaper than hiring more people, and you would have two very qualified people. Interesting discussion. But when we look at the government, I mean, you have people at the highest levels who are clueless, and technology advances, like when you look at crime and things as such. So this people at the highest positions in government, they have no idea of what's happening. And so I think that the discussion is so interesting when we're looking at AI nowadays that moves really fast, and we're speaking about boards, but in the end we're speaking about something much deeper, in my opinion, right? Which is like how we're taking decisions and the people that we are electing, whether it's in a company and based on the experience.
Hmm. I'm not going to comment in your questions or your comments about
Okay,
governments and
I
individuals
understand.
they appoint, because I don't appoint them myself, first and
Mhm,
foremost. And I think there is a trend. I mean, take my appointment, getting people that have the experience to bring in, that are practitioners and they are hands-on, that they can bring
mhm,
this intellectual knowledge to individuals that perhaps have less of this experience. And I think the power of both makes it more valuable than just the power of one. So
mhm,
I value it in such a way that I think there is a trend to help individuals understand better of the new technological advances. And I think this is being very much welcomed. And I agree, technology or AI, because I know people, AI is everywhere. That's what
mhm,
should be the title in many cases. But I think if you are in a board, I don't think you should just consider I think you shouldn't just consider your board the immediate board, but what you said, it's your peers, right? You could be somebody in another industry where you can get your learnings. It's like a mentoring, exchange of mentoring. You learn from somebody of what could work. It could be an interesting expertise. It could be also an actual how to say not just from an industry perspective, but like technology, finance. You could learn
mhm,
from just speaking with somebody. So what you said is that the individual you spoke, he, instead of having a board member, had somebody outside. I would say it's good to have both, because you need this person to be in the board discussions to challenge you.
mhm,
And board papers cannot be circulated to external parties because they are very confidential documents and only board members can see it. So you cannot share this private information to this external person and tell them, what should I do here? You can say generic things, but never the private elements that are official in your documents. But the guidance of external people is always welcome, and I always seek this advice. I have mentors myself and have been incredibly helpful to navigate my roles within public and private sector. So I'm very thankful for them and all their support throughout my years here in the UK.
brilliant. Owen, do you have any further questions?
Um, just one last question, Angela. Um, we talked a lot about AI, but we agreed that AI is just a tool. So, how do you advise the companies that you are on the board to in this environment that are so fast changing, to keep creating value for the customers? What are your key insights for like the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's big horizon. As you said, things are changing fast. But every executive, so the executive team prepares their strategy and it's presented with the guidance of the board. It gets approved and move forward. It's very difficult these days. Whatever you are to decide, one day might be completely different, but never build a strategy for short-term vision, but a little bit more than 6 months, and at least ideally for 12 months, but always prepared for the unexpected. So not only the good things can happen, but look at the environment we are today. many things can deviate your predictions, your financials. So be very precise, and perhaps being risk averse is the best solution rather than being too optimistic. I mean, it's great to be optimistic. I'm an optimistic person myself, but it's also good to be realistic. So I will encourage, I think, the companies of today to be more pragmatic, and pragmatic is a Greek word, and actually ground themselves to the reality and ensure that they have the right resources, personnel, and finances. There was a case study I read during my executive MBA that they were saying cash is king. And I would say it could be queen.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Angela. Angela, well, perhaps a final question. And the question was, if you were sitting, let's say, stepping into a board role tomorrow, what is the first thing you would question or change?
It depends on the board I will be sitting on. I will do my
Fair
thorough
enough.
due diligence. So it depends.
Where do
And,
you,
you know,
where would you start then? Where would you start based on your knowledge, experience?
I will read their financial report. I would read any social listening. I would look at what people talk about them. I will speak with all the executives that take decisions, the key decision makers, the fellow board members within the board, to understand what is their needs, what it is that they are questioning, what is, the vision for the next few months. And do a lot of my own due diligence and also talk to customers as much as possible. And without yet having your board role, sit in their shoes to understand what they face before you actually take the role and responsibility of advising this firm. So be the customer to drive decisions, because that's when the decisions are more insightful. When you sit at the seat of your ending customers, the ones that buy your services. So I'll encourage board members to consider that before joining a board.
Excellent. Great. All right. So time to sell. It's if anyone, folks out there, they're in our community, we're going to make sure we promote this properly. But whoever is on LinkedIn, they want to potentially hire you as a board member, understand about Brazil Tech Connect and all of the great initiatives that you're ahead of. Perhaps you can comment what you're doing and how they can find you as well.
Yes, feel free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn, but please try to connect and put a comment, because I received, since my new appointment lately in government, I must say that I'm receiving a lot of invitations. So ideally, if you can add a small note that you've seen this podcast to evolve, I think it's great for Carlos and the team to know that where you saw the podcast and how you contacted me, but also for me to connect with people that I know it's part of this community, because as I said, communities are key, and I believe that networks are currency. So being part of my network adds value to you, but also to me.
Fantastic. Amazing, Angela. So this was Angela. How do I pronounce your last name, please?
So in Brazil it's Stathis. In Europe is Stathi. Because it's my parents being Greek, is Stathi, but being born in Brazil is Stathis with an S in the end. So very pleased to be here today. So if I can help people through my community and through my networks, very happy to do so. But yes, very keen to speak to individuals that are interested in having me as a board member.
That's great. And we'll make sure we'll promote you within the community. So Angela, really nice to have you on board, and thanks for your time today. Amazing session.
It rhymes. Board. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thanks. Ending this session now.